Hey there. Are you ready to unlock a world of brand new, scary stories tonight? Before we dive into it, I want to know, where and when are you watching this? Drop your answers in the comments below and join our community. And now, let's begin. Some nights don't start strange. They become strange. It was quiet. No storm, no wind, just stillness. I was in bed, phone in hand, mindlessly scrolling. There wasn't anything to be anxious about, not yet. The glow of the screen felt harsh in the dark. I wasn't tired, just empty and restless, like something was missing. That's when my phone lit up with an incoming call, unknown number. I stared at it for a second. It was 1:02 a.m. The world was asleep. Something told me to ignore it, but I didn't. Curiosity won. I answered without even clearing my throat. "Hello?" I said, already regretting it. A woman's voice, low and shaking, came through. She was whispering like someone might hear her. "He's here," she said. "I don't know where to hide." Instantly, my chest tightened. My brain scrambled for context. Was this a joke? A scene from a prank show? But her tone was off, too raw, too panicked to fake. I sat up, adrenaline kicking in, trying to make sense of it. I had no idea what to say or do. Then I said something stupid, something casual. Almost jokingly, I told her, "Hide in the closet." I could barely keep myself from laughing. It felt so surreal, like none of it was real. She didn't laugh. She didn't hesitate. She whispered, "Okay. Thank you." And the line went dead. I stared at the screen like it had just insulted me. I checked the number again. Nothing saved. Just a ghostly unknown, and the timestamp mocking me. My room suddenly felt too dark, too cold. I sat there for a while, just listening to silence, waiting for something else. A call back, a message, anything. But nothing came, just the low hum of quiet dread. Eventually, I convinced myself it was a prank. A strange one, sure, but people do weird things. I turned my phone off and tried to sleep. The next morning felt foggy. I didn't mention the call to anyone. Not because I was scared, but because I wasn't sure it happened. Like maybe I dreamed it and didn't realize. But I kept thinking about her voice. It wasn't the kind you forget after a dream. Later that evening, I was back on my phone. Same routine, same boredom, until a headline jumped out at me. "Woman found dead in her closet." I felt my stomach drop like a trapdoor had opened beneath me. The words didn't seem real, but they were. I clicked the article with shaking hands. No name, no photo, just fragments. Young woman, murdered in her apartment. No signs of forced entry. Estimated time of death, between 1 and 1:30 a.m. The article said her phone was missing. Police believed it might be key to solving the case. That was it. Short, unfinished, unsettling. But it was enough. My call had come in at 1:02 a.m., and I'd told someone, maybe her, to hide in the closet, right where she was found dead. I tried to breathe normally, but it felt impossible. I pulled up my call log again, confirming what I already knew. Same time, same unknown number. What were the odds? I wanted to believe it wasn't connected, but I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I had picked up a call that night. I heard a woman ask where to hide, and I told her. The worst part? I didn't take it seriously. I gave her a death sentence without meaning to. And now, she was gone. I thought about going to the police. But what would I say that didn't make me look insane? There was a call. I told her to hide in the closet. No proof. no recording, just my word and bad timing. They'd probably think I was seeking attention, or worse, that I had something to do with it. And what if I had, without realizing it? What if my voice led him straight to her? That idea sunk its claws into me and never let go. I couldn't shake it, couldn't forget her whisper, so I did nothing. And silence became my punishment. Every day after that, I waited for something. A knock at the door, a detective asking questions I didn't want to answer, a new article with new details. But there was nothing. The story faded from the news like smoke. Her phone was never recovered. Her name was never made public. And me, I just kept waking up with guilt, carrying a secret no one knew I held. Not a witness, not a suspect, just a voice that answered at the wrong time. I deleted the call eventually, but not before memorizing the number. It haunted me more than any nightmare ever could. Sometimes I'd enter the digits just to see if it still worked. But it never did. Disconnected. Gone. Like her. I tried to pretend it didn't matter, that I hadn't really done anything wrong. But I knew better. I hadn't acted wrong, but I had spoken wrong. One careless sentence, and that was enough. I started avoiding late-night calls completely. Even friends got sent straight to voicemail after midnight. The sound of a ringing phone made me flinch. Because what if it happened again? What if someone else called, desperate and scared, and this time I didn't answer? Or worse, what if I did? I thought silence would protect me. But silence is loud when you're the only one hearing it, and guilt doesn't fade with time. It just learns how to whisper, like she did. I was driving cross-country to visit my sister. Took a few days off work, packed light, and hit the road. Somewhere deep in Arizona, the highway went flat and empty. No cars, no towns, just dry land and distant mountains. The sun was brutal, and my AC was barely holding up. My GPS had stopped updating an hour ago. I had no signal, and my playlist was looping. That's when I saw him, standing alone on the shoulder. Thumb out, a backpack at his feet. No car around, just him. Clean, mid-30s, quiet eyes. Not homeless or threatening, just stranded. He looked like a hiker or maybe someone whose car broke down. I slowed just a little, eyeing him as I passed. Something in me hesitated. I kept going at first. Picking up strangers was dumb, and I knew it. But about 30 seconds later, I checked the mirror again. He wasn't waving, wasn't trying hard to flag anyone. Just standing there calmly. I don't know why, but I slowed, put it in reverse, and backed up. I rolled the window down just enough. "You all right?" I asked. He stepped closer and smiled, not too much. "Yeah, just trying to get to the next gas station. It's a few exits." He looked normal, no twitchiness. Clean clothes, a soft voice. My gut didn't scream, so I unlocked the door. "All right, hop in." He got in quietly, dropped his backpack at his feet and buckled up. We pulled back onto the road. At first, it was quiet. He didn't ask questions, didn't offer a life story. I didn't either. The silence was heavy, but not yet uncomfortable. I told him I was heading toward New Mexico. He said, "Cool," and looked out the window again. I asked if his car broke down. "Something like that," he replied. I couldn't read him. Calm can be comforting or unnerving. The first exit came up. "This one?" I asked. He glanced at the sign. "Nah, not it." I kept going, eyes flicking to the mirror. No phone service yet. The next exit passed. I asked again. "Still not it?" He didn't even look this time. Let's keep going. I started to regret stopping. Something about how still he was bothered me. Too still. Too relaxed for someone stranded. By the third exit, my nerves were buzzing. The sun was getting lower, casting weird shadows on the road. This next one has a diner, I said. You sure you don't want to stop there? He smiled a little. No need. We're almost there. But he never said where there was. I laughed lightly, hoping to shake the feeling. He didn't laugh back, just watched me. I adjusted the rearview mirror and caught his eyes. He wasn't staring at the road, he was watching me. It wasn't hostile, just focused, like he was taking mental notes. I tried to stay calm. I told him I had family waiting, that my husband and brother were meeting me soon. He didn't react, just nodded, like he didn't believe me or didn't care. I considered pulling over and telling him to get out, but I was alone. And if he didn't want to get out, I wasn't sure I could make him. He hadn't done anything wrong, but I was sweating through my shirt. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, faked a few cheerful hums, like I was in control. He didn't speak again, just kept riding like a passenger who'd been there forever. Eventually, I saw a gas station ahead, one of those slightly bigger ones with a few cars and flickering lights. I made a quick turn into it. My friends are meeting me here, I said, trying to sound casual. They're just 5 minutes out. I pulled out my phone and pretended to make a call. Yep, I'm here. See you soon. My voice cracked a little, but I kept smiling. He watched me carefully, like he was trying to figure out if I was lying. Then, after a long pause, he said, "Thanks for the ride." He got out, slung his backpack over one shoulder and walked behind the building. Just like that, no questions, no anger, just gone. I kept pretending to talk on the phone, even after the door shut. I stayed in the lot for 20 minutes with the engine running. When I was sure he wasn't coming back, I pulled out and drove straight to a police station. I told them everything. They listened, took a few notes, but said nothing really happened. No crime, no name, no ID, just a stranger. But I'll never forget the way he watched me, like he knew something I didn't. I was already running late. The wedding was supposed to start at 3, and it was already pushing 3:20. Traffic on the main highway was crawling, so I tried what felt like the smart move, taking a shortcut. I remembered someone at work talking about a locals-only back road that bypassed the worst of the city. I hadn't tried it before, but I was desperate. I took the next exit and followed the general direction. It started off okay. Trees, a narrow road, no traffic. I figured I'd be back on track in no time. I even felt proud of myself for outsmarting the GPS. The further I went, the stranger it felt. The road kept narrowing, and the pavement turned rough. I lost cell signal fast, which made me a little nervous, but I figured I'd reconnect once I got closer to town again. No houses, no mailboxes, no power lines. I kept glancing at my phone, waiting for a single bar to pop back up. Nothing. I hit a sudden dip in the road and then thud. Not loud, but sharp. Like I'd hit something small and solid. I slammed the brakes. I sat there, staring ahead. My heart was racing. I looked in the mirror but didn't see anything behind me. I put the car in park and stepped out. The air was cold and still. I walked back slowly, expecting to see a rabbit, a raccoon, even a tire. But there was nothing. No marks on the road, no blood. I checked under the car. Still nothing. That's when I started to feel watched. Not by a person, just by the silence itself. It was the quiet that got to me. No birds, no wind, not even the hum of bugs, just this heavy, motionless quiet. It made my skin crawl. I told myself I was just imagining it, just a bit shaken. I got back in the car, locked the doors, and restarted the engine. It worked fine. Still no signal, though. I took a deep breath and kept driving. The road twisted tightly now, cutting through thick woods. It felt like it hadn't been driven in years. I started wondering if the shortcut was even real, or if I had just turned onto an old service road. Every few minutes I thought I saw something. A shape off the road, movement in the trees, but it always turned out to be a shadow or a tree stump. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then I noticed something lying on the side of the road. I slowed down. It was a shoe. Just one. Muddy, worn. I didn't stop. I kept going, faster. A few hundred feet later, I passed a glove. Then a torn bit of fabric, spaced out perfectly, like someone had dropped things while walking. My brain started creating stories. Maybe a camper got lost. Maybe someone dumped stuff. But my gut kept whispering, "Don't stop." I wanted to turn around, but the road was too narrow and uneven. I felt like I'd driven too far in to back out now. I just wanted to get through it. I kept going. That's when I saw the sign. A piece of old wood nailed to a tree. Hand-painted in faded red letters. Private road. Do not continue. I should have felt relieved. At least it meant someone had been here. But the way it was written, it felt like a warning, not a rule. My hands were tight on the wheel. I kept driving. I figured I'd hit pavement soon, maybe some kind of rural driveway or the turnoff. But the woods stayed the same. I started feeling lightheaded. I hadn't eaten much that day and my nerves were shot. I kept checking the dashboard, watching the fuel gauge obsessively. If I ran out of gas out here, I was screwed. I tried turning on the radio, just static, no channels. I glanced at my phone again, still no signal, and now the GPS showed nothing. Just a blue dot in the middle of nowhere. It was like the map gave up on me. After what felt like forever, I finally saw sunlight breaking through the trees, and beyond that, a road, an actual paved road. I pushed the gas and didn't stop. I turned onto the new road without even checking where it led. The cell signal came back almost instantly. GPS started working. I could see a town just 15 minutes away. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. That night, I tried to find the road again on the map. I wanted to prove it to myself. That I hadn't imagined how long it was, or how weird it felt, but I couldn't. No road, no turnoff, no sign. I asked my coworker again about the shortcut. He just shrugged and said, "I don't remember saying anything like that." I dropped it. Maybe he forgot. Maybe I heard it wrong. But I haven't driven that way since. I still don't know what I hit, or if I hit anything at all. I never figured out why there were clothes on the side of the road. But sometimes I think about how quiet it was, how empty it felt, like the road didn't want me there. And that sign, it wasn't wrong. I shouldn't have continued. I should have turned back the second my phone lost signal, but I didn't. And that's on me. My name is Officer Jack Riley. I spent over 20 years on the force before I retired. and in that time, I saw a lot. I've been called to countless scenes, horrible accidents, missing persons, murders, the kinds of things most people only see in the news. But nothing prepared me for the night I was called in for the YouTubers at that abandoned asylum. It was late, almost midnight, when the call came through. A couple of young YouTubers, known for their spooky content, had gone missing. At first, it seemed like another stupid stunt for views, guys playing up the drama in some old building. We thought they'd just gotten lost or maybe gotten too scared to finish filming. But when we arrived, something felt wrong right away. It wasn't just another prank gone wrong. There was something heavier about it. I could feel it in my bones. That asylum had a reputation. People talked about it all the time. Rumors of missing persons, satanic graffiti, locked rooms. But I never put much stock into rumors. It was an old, decaying building. But as we stepped inside, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The air felt thick, like it was holding its breath. Every creak of the floorboards echoed through the halls. It wasn't just the building. It felt like the place was alive, watching us. And then I noticed the cameras. They were still rolling. When we found their gear, cameras, bags, half-eaten snacks, it seemed like a bad joke. But there was no sign of the YouTubers. No blood, no struggle, no footprints. They had vanished without a trace. I've worked cases like this before, cases where the answers never came. But this was different. There was no logical explanation. We combed through every room, checked every corner, but they were just gone. Nothing was right about it, and I couldn't stop the feeling that we were missing something. Something bigger than we realized. The next few days were a blur. Interviews, more searches, endless questions. The case quickly went cold, but then, a week later, something happened that I'll never forget. I was sitting at home, trying to unwind from the case when I saw it. A new video. It was titled Final Footage, but it wasn't from their account. It had been uploaded to a brand new channel, one I couldn't trace. I thought maybe it was just some sick prank, but as soon as I clicked play, I knew it wasn't. It was the asylum, but it was different. It wasn't the same playful content they'd been filming before. The two of them were there, but something was wrong with them. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide with fear, nothing like the confident, cocky attitude they'd had earlier. And then, in the background, I saw it. A shadow. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, but the more I watched, the more I realized it was moving. It was like the shadow had a mind of its own. They didn't even seem to notice it. It was as if whatever was there was hiding from them. The video cut, just like that, in the middle of the footage. One moment, they were there, wide-eyed, terrified, and the next, they were gone. No screams, no sound, just the empty hallway. The camera lingered for a moment longer on the spot where they had stood. The silence was deafening. I sat there, frozen. It was one of the eeriest things I'd ever seen. But the worst part? It wasn't just the fact that they were gone. It was the fact that someone had uploaded that video to a channel no one knew about. It wasn't from their account, it was from something else. Something that had no explanation. I tried to trace the upload, but the channel disappeared almost as quickly as it had appeared. It was as if someone wanted to make sure we saw it, but didn't want us to know where it came from. The whole thing sent a chill down my spine. I I couldn't stop thinking about the YouTubers, how they had looked, how they had acted. There was no way they were just playing up the fear. Something had happened to them. Something that didn't make sense. I've been around long enough to know that sometimes the answers never come. But the feeling I had that night standing in that dark, cold hallway has never left me. I don't know what happened to them, and I don't know who uploaded that video. All I know is that there are things out there that no one talks about. Things that people try to explain away. But sometimes, the unexplainable is the most terrifying thing of all. As a retired officer, I thought I had seen it all, but I was wrong. Some cases stay with you even when you're no longer part of the force. And this one haunts me. Growing up, I was incredibly close to my cousins. Even though we weren't related by blood, our bond felt as strong as family. I visited them often, and those visits were filled with adventures and secrets shared between siblings of the heart. My cousins used to live with their grandparents, and even now, one of them still does. Their grandparents' home was a grand old house in a quiet cul-de-sac in Chandler, Arizona. It was a 2-story home with 3 bedrooms, a spacious living room, and an imposing staircase that dominated the center of the house. The staircase was large and elegant, with a polished banister and steps that creaked just enough to send shivers down your spine if you weren't careful. I remember that house vividly, not just for its size, but for the sense of mystery that seemed to hang in the air. There was an unmistakable aura of something timeless about the place, as if the house itself held memories of generations long past. It was in that house that one of the most unforgettable experiences of my childhood took place. I was around 5 years old at the time, and my cousin, who was about 6, was my constant playmate. That particular day, the adults were gathered in the living room, chatting quietly while we were left to our own devices downstairs. We had spent the afternoon racing our Hot Wheels cars along the long hallway and making grand plans for our imaginary adventures. The bottom of the staircase served as our favorite playground, a space that was both safe and exciting for our little games. As the day slowly melted into the evening, the warm glow of the setting sun filtered through the windows, casting long shadows that danced along the walls. The atmosphere was calm and comforting, and for a while I felt completely at ease in that familiar space. But then, as twilight deepened into an eerie dusk, something unexpected happened that would forever be etched in my memory. I was momentarily distracted, looking up at the top of the staircase, when my eyes caught a movement that I couldn't explain. There, at the very top of the stairs, stood a tall figure dressed in a costume that looked disturbingly like a frog, or perhaps a lizard. The costume was oversized, and the creature's eyes were completely blacked out, hiding whatever expression might have been there. Its mouth was agape in a way that was both unnatural and terrifying. A silent, gaping void where a smile or frown might have been. The figure was standing directly in front of an open door, behind which the light was inexplicably off, deepening the sense of foreboding. At that tender age, my imagination was fertile ground for fear. The sight of this mysterious lizard man sent a jolt of terror through my small body. I froze, rooted to the spot, unable to move or even utter a single word. My eyes widened in disbelief, and tears began streaming down my face as the fear consumed me. I remember feeling utterly helpless, trapped in a moment that seemed to stretch on forever. It wasn't long before my cousin, noticing my silent terror and the tears in my eyes, also looked up toward the top of the stairs. In that instant, his face contorted into the same expression of horror that I felt, and we both began to cry uncontrollably. The sound of our sobbing filled the space, mingling with the creaks of the old house, and it felt as though the very walls were echoing our fear. In our shared panic, my cousin grabbed my hand, and without a word, we bolted towards the living room. Our only thought was to alert the adults. We had to tell them about what we had seen. We burst into the living room, our voices shaking as we tried to explain that we had seen the lizard man. The adults exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of amusement and disbelief. They seemed to dismiss our claims as nothing more than a child's overactive imagination, or perhaps an innocent misunderstanding of shadows and costumes. One of the older boys, who was like a big brother to us, rolled his eyes and said, "Come on, let's go check it out so you guys can be quiet." His tone was more exasperated than comforting, and although he clearly didn't believe our wild story, he agreed to take us upstairs to see what had frightened us so terribly. With our hearts still pounding, we followed him up the long, creaking staircase. Each step felt like a descent deeper into a realm of unknown terrors. When we reached the top, we headed straight for the door where we had seen the creature. To our astonishment, the door was now closed, and hanging from the doorknob was a small, worn teddy bear. It was as if the mysterious figure had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a strange token of its presence. Our big brother asked in a measured tone, "Where did you see it?" I pointed tremblingly at the now closed door, hoping that he would understand the depth of our fear. He took the bear and set it aside, then opened the door and switched on the light inside. For a long, agonizing moment we all waited, our eyes scanning every dark corner of the room. But there was nothing, only the ordinary contents of a quiet, unused space. He shrugged, muttering, "Nothing's there," and led us back downstairs. Despite his reassurance, the memory of that surreal moment haunted me for years. I could never quite shake the feeling that what we had seen was more than just a trick of the light or a child's imagination. Even now, when I think back on that day, I remember the inexplicable chill that ran down my spine and the lingering sense of unease that seemed to cling to me long after we left that room. My cousin and I have often wondered what truly happened that day. Over the years, we've shared our story with friends and family, curious if anyone else had encountered something similar. While many have dismissed it as an overactive childhood imagination, for us, the memory remains vivid and unsettling. I've never mustered the courage to go upstairs alone since that incident. Every time I approach a staircase, I feel a momentary flutter of anxiety, a brief recall of that terrifying glimpse of the lizard-like figure. It's strange how an experience from so long ago can leave a lasting imprint on your mind. A quiet reminder that sometimes, even in the most familiar places, the unknown can slip in and stir up old fears. Though the adults that day might have brushed it off as nothing more than a fleeting illusion, the impact on my young mind was profound. It instilled in me a cautious curiosity about the world, a sense that there might be more hidden in the shadows than meets the eye. And while I continue to visit my cousins and relish those cherished family moments, there remains a part of me that wonders about the mysterious lizard man and the secrets of that old house in Chandler.